Hey dolls, welcome back to DivaDollFlawless. In today's video, I'm going to share how I got an debossing effect on my project. When you do this, I'm going to use Design Space, my quick swap housing, as well as the fine tip debossing tip that goes into the quick swap housing, and we're going to do this all in Design Space. Now, if you have this, the only way you can do it is if you do have the Cricut makers. This is very similar to a stitched design on a metal die, okay? So you can achieve that effect on your Cricut maker. What I'm showing you in Design Space is the SVG that I'm working with. I've already done a project share on this. That's going to be the video that's posted prior to this. And this is a My Scrap Chick clipboard SVG. So what I did was just got rid of everything that I did not want to be working with. I just pretty much just made it unseen. It's all still there, but I want you all to focus on this one piece. Now, the SVG here is a notebook paper SVG from Silhouette, and I uploaded it into Design Space. Now what we need to do is click all of those little tiny cut marks. Those are going to cut the same way you see it there, but I don't want it to. I want it to have a debossed effect. So by clicking all of them, going over to your layers panel and clicking deboss, it's telling your Cricut maker that that's the tool that you're going to use. So when you get done, that's the tool it's going to prompt you to put inside of the machine. Okay, now that that's done, what you need to do is just double check that all of those embossed or debossed, excuse me, because there is a difference between embossing and debossing. This is debossing. All of those little debossed lines need to be attached to your project, and they also need to be grouped. You can tell that by looking over on the left hand side of your layers panel. If it says ungroup, that means that they're grouped. If you click ungroup, it's going to ungroup that. So you want that to be one whole grouping, and since it is, you're going to click everything, and then at the bottom you're going to click attach. That now tells the machine that this is one single project. There's different things that the machine needs to do. It's going to do the embossing first, and then it's going to cut out that sheet of paper. All right. But what I am going to do is actually click on the cut layer and change it to white. This is just a reminder to myself when I'm putting my papers down on my mats that this is the colored paper that I want to use. Now over in the shapes panel, to create those debossed lines, I click the score line, and I'm going to just go ahead and get this straight. You have one of two ways that you can do this. You can either use the rotate arrow that's on the lines, which is what I'm showing you here on the project. Both the score lines and the project have it. You can do that to make it straight if you want to, or you can go up in the top of your layers panel and just click on the rotation and you'll see the numbers. So it's up to you on how you want to get that straight. I normally use the lines on the grid mat or whatever this little background is in Design Space. I use that to make sure everything is straight. Once you do that, you want to take the score line and you want to take it over to your project and size it. You can make it as long or as short as you want. Just keep in mind that you want to always reference the actual project that you're working on when you're doing this, because what we're going to do now is take those score lines and we're going to make them a debossed line. So you're going to go over to your lines and then you're going to click deboss. Now that is telling the machine, as you can see, those dotted score lines changed. It's now just one line and it's going to be debossed. Okay, so I'm just going to resize it and just double check that it is the way that I want to, because once you do this one time, you are going to duplicate it, but you don't have to do the work multiple times. You're just going to do it on this one line, and then you're going to duplicate this line as many times as you want. So I'm just simply resizing this to get it where I want, and I just want a little bit off on each side of the line. And then once I do that, I'm just going to click duplicate, and I think I did about 8 or 9 lines. Once you play around with it, you can just go ahead and decide what you want, how many lines you want. Choose everything, and now you want to go to a line. I put a line left, and then you also want to make sure that this is distributed vertically or horizontally, and that spacing is just too much for me. So what I'm actually going to do is just move the lines a little closer together, and then I'm going to select them all again, and then I'm going to click align left and then distribute vertically. Okay, so it's going to do all of your lining up and everything for you. And there's just so many different ways you can just play around with this. This is you fine-tuning and really making this your own type of project. It does take some time. It definitely, designing does take some time. It's no way around it. But once you learn little different tips and tricks, you'll be able to do it a little bit faster. But starting from scratch, it normally takes me a little bit of time to do my project. So now that I have it on there, I'm just going to go ahead and technically I click center. You will know whether or not you made those lines its own individual grouping, because if you did not, it's going to take all of those lines and put them to the center, which is what we don't want. So what we need to do is select all and then hit group. All right. And then I decided that I also wanted to add an additional line. So you can ungroup it, add you another line, duplicate those lines as many as you want to, but then just follow the same old align left and then distribute vertically. All right. And this is how you do it without having to place each individual line. So just group it all together and then place it on your project. Once you do that, then you can select all, and then you can align and hit center. This will have two different, it's like taking two different pieces of paper and lining them up instead of it being broken down into different pieces. So now you technically have 2 layers. Okay. So once you've decided, hey, this is how I want it to look, you can click attach. Once you click attach, this is now one single piece. And when you click make it, I'm just showing you that this is one single piece. Once you click make it, and this is how I always check my work, you check your mat and it's going to tell you that this is going to find the boss and it's also going to cut. It's only 2 steps that you needed to do, so you know that you did it correctly. If the lines were not attached to the project, they will be on a different mat, and then the cut paper would be on another mat. And that's how I always double check my work. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and click cancel. More than likely what I'm doing is just going to add more lines, but that is essentially how you create a debossed line as well as a stitched line. The top portion is actually what a stitched metal die would look like. So if you wanted to, say you had a heart and you wanted to do some stitching on it, you would do your fine little cuts, have them as cut lines, and then take those cut lines and change them to a debossed line. So instead of cutting, it's going to deboss. I hope this makes sense. I'm just basically redoing what I did, adding more lines, attaching it to the project, and that's pretty much all that I'm going to do. Once you've done all of that work, and while you're working on your projects, be sure to always click save. Save multiple times while you're working, and it will prompt you to put a title for your project as well. Now I'm going to quickly show you how you switch out your different blades. You're just going to open up the little latch, take your one blade out, and then put the quick swap housing and debossing tip in. Okay, there's a flat portion that you can see. That's what's going to go up against the machine. Just make sure that you're mindful on your pressure that you're using, and you do not have to manhandle your machines at all. All right, so hopefully this answers any questions or comments you all may have. I hope I was very thorough. This is kind of like getting a free mini Cricut class. So I did make sure to try to do it in real time and to be very clear in my explanations. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, and until next time, have a gorgeous day, doll. Smooches. Mwah. Bye.